I believe very strongly in giving the devs feedback, and that's what they're asking for, especially when it comes to all the changes that they're rolling out on the PTR, looking for Season 1 to launch on March the 28th. But I don't just believe in voicing my opinion here on YouTube and hoping that maybe the devs hear it. I also took time to write this up and post it on the official forums. If you guys go and check this out, I'll include a link in the description if you want to go engage with the forums. And if you agree with anything that I'm going to share with you in today's video, that would probably be one of the best ways that we can kind of highlight that and talk about that and hopefully look at this from a critical perspective, but also something where that it's both fair for the developers and fair for the players, because we're looking at 2-ish sprints until the release of Season 1 on the live servers. Roughly speaking, that's not a lot of time for them to make sweeping changes. So I tried to keep my thoughts and feedback on the possibility of, like what can happen and then what can change further down the line in the future once everything is said and done. So just note that that's also going to be something playing in the back of my head. But I wanted to share with you guys today my thoughts after spending the weekend on the PTR, and really, like, there's some good things, but unfortunately this video is going to focus in on some of the things I think they really need to address, because the changes they're introducing fundamentally change the way that I play this game, and whenever I experience that in games, I tend to disengage, and I don't want to disengage from New World. I really think that they have a lot of potential. I think the seasons themselves have a vast amount of potential that they introduce, but some of the core changes, some of the decisions that they have already brought into the game make it almost very difficult to really enjoy that experience. And so we're going to focus in on kind of seasonal progression, and then I'm going to talk about gear sets. So there's two aspects of this video that are really going to hopefully resonate with you. Again, we might not agree on certain aspects if there's any kind of numbers that I share. I know, like, if I said how many gear sets I think that we should have, chances are we're going to there's a discussion to be had, and you can always sound off in the comments below. I love to hear your opinions, because when it comes down to it, 2 clearly isn't enough, but we'll talk about that more here in the future of this video. But I want to focus in on seasonal progression because I spent a good amount of chunk on time trying to progress my season pass. I'm level 2. Here's the big problem. There's a couple things going on. I actually really love the journey and the chapters. Like, I really enjoy this. I tried to do an expedition. I actually went around killing the knights and it didn't register, so there could be some bugs. Let's give them that. So I actually enjoy the journey system. I think that's cool. I actually really enjoy the stamp and activity system. I like this as well. What I don't like is going out and killing monsters in the open world, fishing, crafting, and gathering. None of that progresses me on this track. Not that I'm asking for efficient progression, mind you. I think if I catch a fish, it should be at least worth 1 experience point for the season. Not a lot. It shouldn't be like I'm just going to go fish out 100 levels, but that's the beauty of what New World is. The fact that you can go and level up to level 60 just by fishing if you want to. The season pass should reflect that very thing. Crafting, gathering, fighting mobs in the open world, all of that should not go away to favor the journey and the activity card. And why is that? Well, personally speaking, I will actually engage with a lot of these systems. I will engage with the journey. I will engage with the activity card. I will engage with these systems. But when you take options off the table for me, for whatever psychological reason, I get less interested. So what it actually feels like to me, just, again, speaking for me as a gamer, when they take away fishing, when they take away killing monsters in the open world, and even in the dungeons as well, like when you're going and running an expedition, you should be able to rack up, a handful of seasonal experience, maybe give a little bit more than 1 to the boss, right? And the reason why I'm starting with 1 and maybe thinking 5 is that if you go and craft a gypsum orb, that gives you 5 seasonal experience. That's fantastic. Let's take that and make that everywhere. But when it comes down to when you take options away, I actually kind of feel punished for that. And I kind of feel a little bit resentful for that, because I love how New World gives me the option to flex. I love it how it gives me the option to scale my time and choose what I want to do, whether I want to jump into OPR, arena, try to do a war, try to do an invasion, or if I want to do expeditions or mutations. Like, that's where the beauty of the activity card and the journey card come in. If I can still go and fish and not feel like I'm not progressing down the pathway. If I'm fishing and feeling like, oh gosh, I should be doing this other thing, that in and of itself is enough to make me just start to resent my experience. I love New World. I love how it does a few things. It really gives me the ability to relax after a stressful and hard day by just hanging out, doing some small things if I want to do some small things. You know, farming, crafting, gathering, playing. And then if I have more time and I feel more energetic and friends are playing, we can do the harder things together too. And that should also be rewarding. But what this does is it takes, for me, options off the table, and I find that frustrating. So what that would actually end up meaning is I would either not purchase the season pass, which is like not fair in my mind. Like, you know, don't misunderstand the words fair here, which essentially is like me actually not giving money where I'm willing to. I'm absolutely willing to support a battle pass, because that I think could end up being a fun piece of content if I'm not, you know, held at a disadvantage for choosing to play the game in a relaxing way versus a sweaty way. And that's what, again, I think New World gives me that ability to flex between those two styles of play. And right now what they're telling me to do is I have to focus on the activity and the journey card. I have to do these systems as opposed to just kind of play the way I want. What you do is when you bring in those options that I just listed back on the table, I probably will do the journey and activity card even more so. I like these kind of systems. The feedback that I gave is I would love to be able to like right click and track like whatever I want to see. So yeah, I want to go and capture a faction control point. Cool. Awesome. Let's do that and be able to see that like in my HUD here on the right hand side, just like a quest, because I can't really see my progress while I'm playing. So just, you know, in the game, I have to keep pulling up and doing a couple clicks. When you start to think of how many clicks it takes to go from what you're looking for, you know, it's like more than one click. It's like, can we, you know, come up with a system for that? So the ability to track various different activities that I want to focus in on would be great. Now, that what I just shared with you right now would be much further down the line. That would not be able to make the March 28th, deadline. They've got a lot on their plates. They're working on it, etc. So just note that's something that I'd like to see in the future. That's something that I've already shared with them personally on the forums, and I'll continue to do so. I think that has a key aspect. Same thing with the activity card, same thing with the journey. Like, just let me right click, track what I'm working on, and it gives me that progression. I'd also like to see my season progression somewhere on my UI. I'd still want to see XP at level 60, just like an aptitude system for all the crafting and gathering. Same thing for the levels and the weapons. They need to bring that in as well, but still being able to play and see my seasonal progression would be wonderful. I should not have to keep hitting F9 and going into the system to kind of take a look at it, but that is something else for another day. Now, the other side of it, here's the bigger thing. The FOMO is absolutely going to hurt my experience with this game. FOMO, for those who don't know, stands for fear of missing out. There's what I call natural FOMO, the idea that, like, yeah, you can't experience the way New World was at launch anymore. That naturally just doesn't happen twice. Artificial FOMO is what you introduce by having so many days before the season pass expires, and it goes away forever. Now, I don't think what I'm about to share is going to be able to make it in time for March, which makes sense. But when we start talking about season 2, season 1, if you purchase it, should always be yours. It should never go away. When season 2 kicks off, you should be able to equip either season 1 or season 2. Why is this the case? Well, you should be able to, if purchased, be able to grind on these items. Now, they want to create the sense of exclusivity, like I was there for this moment, but that's artificial. That's like, that in and of itself does not need to exist. Now, why this is not an NFT, it is that same kind of concept. We're creating a scarcity that does not necessarily need to exist. And this, I think, punishes the devs as much as the player. Now, if you're actively playing, chances are, if they make some of the adjustments to progression, it probably won't take long to grind out a season. But imagine now you getting excited and wanting to return to the game for season 2, and it's a couple of weeks till the launch of season 2, and you're like, oh yeah, hey, should I buy the season pass? you're going to lose out. Like, there's no reason to hand the devs money at that point because you can't go and equip the season in the future. Same thing, imagine when the expansion drops, or 2 years from now, somebody starts the game. Imagine being able to be Amazon and say, hey, you know what? We've got 8 seasons worth of content that you missed out on. How about we bundle that up and sell it to you, and you as the player can grind on these seasons and these activity cards and just playing the game, and you're going to get these rewards by just playing the game. And you could probably knock out a couple of seasons within a current season. You could even say that the current season has a little bit of a bonus for doing so, making it a little bit faster. And then you could always go back and equip previous seasons, allowing you as a player to not necessarily feel pressured to log in and play all the time. Thus, again, going back to my original point, don't punish me, just give me options, and I'll actually engage in those options as opposed to disengaging from the content. All right, so hopefully some of that makes sense. And if you guys have any questions, if you want me to clarify anything that I said, let me know. We can always do some follow-up videos here on the channel. And again, I want to point you guys to the text-based post of this to engage with that as well. Not just hitting that like button, but if you can reply, that's going to be something that's going to keep it on top of the forums as a way continuing to push this to the devs. Now, I'll also try and point the devs to this video as well, because I feel like sometimes I can say things better, even though sometimes, I got to stutter and sometimes I mispronounce and misspeak words. That is what it is. But now I'm going to shift focus to the gear set system. There's been some really good conversation being had on my videos. I have no issue with being able to purchase a gear set. I don't. On its fundamental issue, on its fundamental level, I think that is a perfectly fine situation, because when we don't, like, as gamers, if we don't think about the technological challenges and hurdles and things going on behind the scenes, like when somebody asks for money, you're like, well, wait, why? But there is a cost to gear sets. Like, there is a data cost to that. And I don't have problems wanting to thank the devs for their hard work. The gear set system itself is amazing. It's absolutely incredible. But 2 is not enough. Even with getting a third through the season pass. Like, I think, and this is where we could debate on the number, but I think the best customer, if we think of ourselves as the customer, which we are, I think the best customer focused answer here, the best customer focused thing they could do is at a minimum have it be 5. They could have 2, like you see right now on screen, and have 3 that you can unlock via faction. You purchase it from your faction vendor, like even at the highest cap, right? Like you're at the, you've maxed out your vendor. You can go purchase 3, and then they're like a one-time purchase, right? And thus you have 5 to start. So it could just say, hey, you got 2, you've unlocked the system, here you go. The other 3 are in-game that you get from playing the game, and at least at a minimum you have 5 free. As a hardcore player, like when you are doing mutations, when you're doing PvP, when you're engaging with these systems, 5 is also not enough. But this is a one-time purchase. I've come from games like you think Guild Wars 2, like you buy inventory spaces and bags there. That ends up being a one-time purchase per character. So I'm not going to sit here and say anybody is doing it better or worse, but I also have rented storage in games like Final Fantasy XIV, where you spend money every month, and if you don't spend that money, it gets locked away and you can't access it until you open up your wallet. So I don't have a problem with the idea of financially supporting the devs and the game. I think from a monetization perspective, New World has been absolutely fair to us as players. They haven't asked for any more money other than the initial cost. Seasons, I think, is a fair enough system if they can get rid of that artificial FOMO. I will happily buy every season that they produce, but I guarantee you, after a couple, especially not hitting cap, being punished, for the way that I want to play, not the way that like they want me to play, the way that I want to play, reward me for the way I want to play. And again, it's going to take me a longer time, but I'm fine with that relationship right there. But when it comes to the gear sets, I think 5 ends up becoming such a better base starting perspective. If you think I have a tank, healer, DPS, crafter, gatherer, not all the crafters, not all the gather, like crafter, gatherer. Like when you think of that kind of at a core base experience of what the game offers, then you can easily start to dive in deeper to all the different options that are available. I think they actually knocked it out of the park with gear sets in terms of what they're doing. Would I like to see it attached to my stats specifically? Sure. That's one less step that I have to worry about. But that's not the biggest deal. Like, the biggest deal was always trying to manage the pieces of gear, where they are in my inventory, and so much more. So I think that they nailed it there. I don't think 2 is the right number. I don't think 5 is the right number, but 5 is a much more customer-focused starter than anything else. And for those that feel like you shouldn't have to purchase additional gear sets, like, again, I don't think it's, for me, that big of a deal because it is a one-time purchase. It's not a monthly purchase. It's not a yearly purchase. If you buy the gear sets, you will have them. And if you take breaks and come back, guess what? They'll still be there for you. Your value of gear sets and mine also not equal. I'm probably going to at least have 10 on day one. I'm happy to purchase 5 additional gear sets. I might go much, much deeper the more that I play and engage with the systems, assuming all the other progression and things like that get fixed and get worked out. So I don't think it's all bad. I think that there's work to be done here. I think this is a part of that conversation, that relationship. I see a lot of people getting frustrated, and that's frustration. It's like, respectfully put it out in the forums. Put your thoughts into the world as respectfully as possible, because one of the things I feel about the devs is I do feel heard. It doesn't mean the answer can't be no, but at least I feel like they're listening, they're active as a part of this conversation. And I think this conversation is probably the most critical when it comes to the future of this game. Now, I only speak for myself and people, obviously like me. I got kids, I got a job. I love this game. I want this game to succeed. I think these changes they're bringing in are the starter for a really great and successful game. Part of the confusion and the concern that people leverage around the concurrent players is they feel like the game isn't making enough money. How can Amazon afford to do this? Well, Amazon can afford to do a lot of things. I'm not really worried about Amazon's pocketbooks overall, but I want the devs who are pouring their heart and soul trying to make an incredibly fun game, and I think that they've really succeeded on many, many levels. Deep down, I want them to be, when they look at the numbers, saying, hey, this is profitable. Let's keep investing in New World. Let's keep investing in video games. I'm just one guy, and this is just my thoughts. I'd love to know your thoughts. I hope that you guys take time to go and check out the article itself and engage with that. That would be a huge thank you for me. There's many things I still want. This doesn't, reduce the fact that I think we need aptitude levels for level 60, that we need aptitude levels for your weapons. Those two things brought in. I think that open world enemies should give bonus experience for the longer they're alive. We have that system in place for PvP. I think we should have that system in place for PvE as well. So those are things that I still want to see in this game. We know that controller support's on the way. I'm very excited. I can't wait to test that in a future update. The team that worked on the gear sets is the team that's working on that. From what we've seen with the gear sets, I think they got the right team on it. So I can't wait to see how they deliver on that. And I'm looking forward to providing feedback when it comes to the controller support for this game. But I do want to apologize. Hopefully I didn't waste any of your time. I do thank you for giving me some of your attention today. And hopefully you enjoyed the video and my thoughts. I appreciate it. I love you guys. Thanks so much. I hope you have a great and wonderful day. And hopefully I'll see you in my next video. But until then, take care.